going all the way back to Tatan and Gilit and Savanpai and Tukari and these places, sea defense systems that housing, the first set of housing the Labour Party gave free of charge in Dominica, especially in the Chance area in Portsmouth, was the Petrocasas. And the Petrocasas were given to us by Hugo Chavez of Venezuela. The Petrocarib, a lot of governments were afraid to touch the Petrocarib arrangement. They didn't want to, but because of the vision of Roosevelt Skerrit, he was one of the first governments in CARICOM to actually sign on to the Petrocarib agreement and to endorse the ALBA. And we have seen the benefits that have manifested to Dominica because of those aggressive foreign policy initiatives taken by the Honorable Prime Minister. We can go on the State House, the new grammar school that has been completed, the State College. He himself was the one who established the State College. Before the State College, we were in a small building behind grammar school called Clifton Dupini Community College, where only about 70 Dominican students could enter. If you're lucky, they would mark you on a grade. And after they reach 70, or no matter how well you did at CXC, you couldn't enter, not because you didn't have the grades, but they didn't have the space for you. Mr. Volney and Mr. Sorrento, God bless their soul, would try to squeeze you in, but they didn't have the space. Now, every student living a secondary school anywhere in Dominica really has a place at the Dominica State College, which Skerrit built in the height of the austerity program because of the assistance of the friends and foreign relations that he was able to establish. And we did that really. That wasn't just a habit of Skerrit, but that was a habit of the Labour Party, because even in opposition, Nantan was just telling you, and Marvelyn is a living example of this, that Rosie in opposition was sending scores of children out to study at international universities in Cuba, in Russia, in Ukraine, in England, in America, in Canada, all over the world, in China, all over the world, because he was able to establish relationships in opposition with other countries. And then the Labour Party just continued and expanded upon that. You know, so these are some of the foreign policy initiatives that the Honorable Prime Minister established, the Honorable President Prime Minister established, that have assisted tremendously in the rapid development that we have seen in Dominica. And I could go on and on and on, you know, with that showing you just that example.
Manu, I know that you too, you're an ambassador. I'm sure that you are able to help us, listeners and viewers, as to what the bilateral relationships that we have created, that we have made in various countries of the world. You heard Ian made mention of about 150 countries. What are these relationships meant to us in Dominica?
I believe they have meant a lot to us as a people. I mean, when Prime Minister Skerrit became the Prime Minister, one of the first things he did was establish diplomatic relations with China, and we would all recall the 5 pillar projects. We did not have a stadium, and we knew Patrician started one, and the remnants of it is still there in the old Kinfield site. It was converted after Hurricane David by the incoming government, the Freedom Party, into an industrial site. But there still sits and concrete and still out in Kinfield there where Patrician started the stadium. So we built our first stadium in Dominica under this Labour Party with assistance from China. We had the road, which you mentioned before, that was moved from the ordinary road to a highway from Portsmouth to Roseau. We built the China Friendship Hospital, where we have so many doctors and so many specialized sectors of the hospital with equipment and personnel, both from Dominica and China, and we have a number of Dominicans studying in China with different specialties, and also in Cuba to work on the health sector that we have here in Dominica to make healthcare for all much better than it was. And the State College was another project that we had on the 5 pillar project. So we knew of these things, and we knew how important they were for Dominica. we recall the relationship we had with Gaddafi when I worked as the ambassador for Dominica in Libya then. And when we started the Yes We Care program, it was first funded by Gaddafi then. We know of the relationship with Morocco and all the assistance we got with the Morocco Hotel, which is still ongoing. The fertilizer we got for our farmers, the number of students we sent to study out in Morocco. So using our relations as a tool for the advancement of our people have always been one of the key things that we do as the Labour Party government. But outside of that, Cecil, our party always ensured that we try to make our people better. And even though Rosie cautioned that sometimes you make people better and they will forget about you, he still warned us and cautioned us not to let that deter us. So our Prime Minister, Roosevelt Skerrit, tell us that we need to ensure that some of the poor families among us have an opportunity for generational wealth. That is why sometimes people may say they did not agree with the Prime Minister when they give house to people free of charge. But the Prime Minister believes that as a poor family, the biggest investments that you could have would be one, on owning land, two, on getting a house, three, on providing tertiary education for your children. And that is why we give those things to the poor people of Dominica to try our best to give them a hand to pull them up so that they can get their families out of poverty, so that they can pass on generational wealth, that they haven't got a loan to pay as so many other people for a university degree, or they haven't got a loan to pay for the house that's covering their head, or they haven't got a loan to pay for the land that the government gave them, or even give them at $1 a square foot. Because we believe in trying to help people. So you may not necessarily agree with us on everything that we do, but you can see the logic in trying to create generational wealth for our people. We look at healthcare, free health for if people under 18, and free health for people who are above 60, and access to healthcare with the new hospital, with all the health centers that we have built, the number of doctors we got trained all over the country. Taking care of those who are less fortunate among us. I mentioned the Yes We Care program, the NEP program, the pit latrine program. These are things that are germane to us as a party because we believe that as a party, God gave us an opportunity to help others. And what we try to do is try to help them to the best of our ability. So again, we want to reiterate and to emphasize that you may not agree with us on everything, but you can see the logic, you can see the reasoning in what we're doing as a Labour Party. Not just the party of Roosevelt Skerrit, but the party of Phyllis and Alfred, the party of Mike and Rosie Douglas, the party of Edward Oliver LeBlanc, and the party of the future that will always ensure that its emphasis would be for those who are less fortunate among us. That our raison d'etre is trying to uplift the man from poverty and getting the family up to a better ground. So what we appeal to those who are standing on the side is look at what we're doing, analyze, look at the mirror tonight when you go to brush your teeth before you go to bed. And ask yourself, is this the best I can do as a citizen? Is this the best I can do as a Dominican? And what else can I do to help the Labour Party, help the poorer people, help the less fortunate people of Dominica to get them to a higher level? That is the vision. That is the objective. That is the goal of our party. And tonight, we appeal to all and sundry, all of us, of whatever religious class you come from, whatever political ideology you come from, understand. Look at the vision. Look at the mission. Look at the role and the objective of Labour and join us as we move and put Dominica first and try to advance Dominica for all and sundry, for all Dominicans.
Marvelyn, I just want to find out from you, as a young girl growing up in the LYU, you would have known of Rosie Douglas and to a great extent Michael Douglas establishing relationships with various countries of the world. We know of Cuba,
Yeah.
where our many students from Portsmouth, the north, the northeast, and even from Roseau would have gone to Cuba and study. We know many went to Austria. We know those who have been to Russia, the Soviet Union at the time. We know of Libya, the relationship that we had with Libya, and even Angola, and that of other countries in Africa. And we see in the Caribbean, Antigua, Grenada, St. Vincent, Guadeloupe, Martinique, we saw the Labour Party, they were actually propelling your minds, people like young people like yourself, minds to really see how best we could create that kind of development. How did you, as a girl growing up, seeing these young people going across to other countries to study, how did you see it as a girl growing up, wanting to be part of that program or that process?
Well, I saw it as an opportunity. You know, when you're growing up and you grow up only with your mom in a, poor home, and you seeing the opportunities that others are getting, that's what you want. And that's what happened in Portsmouth at the time when, we were on the Freedom Party, and we were being cornered in Portsmouth. We had to survive on our own in Portsmouth. And Rosie gave us this idea that education is going to push us. He showed the young men that love sports, that sports could open doors. So we grew up and we fight. We started to do our things together. We started to work together, and we just knew that going out there with all what the Freedom Party used to say at the time, that Cuba was communist and they're going to change children into this and that. We pushed forward and we trusted Rosie, and we went with it, and it worked for many, many, many people. As I told you, I wanted to go to Cuba, and no matter what people said, I wanted to go to Cuba. But at the time, I was needed to be at Rosie's side, and he knew that. So when time came for me to leave, he sent me to England, where he wanted me to go for whatever reason. He wanted me to go there. So that's where I went. But I knew, and looking at it, I knew that education was the key, and that was the goal. And even today, Prime Minister Skerrit is doing the same thing. He knows that education is the key, and he's giving it to numerous young people in Dominica. Whether we like it or not, the Labour Party has always educated the poorest people in Dominica, and that is why we will stick with Labour.
Before I go to Paolo, I just want to find out from Ian Douglas, how much of those relationships that were actually been established by your uncle and your dad, that you believe today a present Labour Party in government would have continued that kind of establishment?
Well, not would have, and more particularly by my uncle, by Rosie. And to understand why Rosie took that view is to understand what Phyllis Shand Alfrey established. Phyllis Shand Alfrey established the ideology of the Dominican Labour Party as a socialist party, socialism. So a social democrat party, meaning that we are socialists, but we believe in democracy. And when Rosie came along, he followed along those lines and gave it a sort of Pan-African kind of approach, where he tried to bring Africa and the diaspora closer together. That was Rosie's mission in life, and it was because of that socialism, and that's why our opponents caused us to remain in opposition for so long by calling us communists and spreading the propaganda that Rosie's a communist, and he'll go and take all people land, and he's going to take his fatherland and share it and distribute among poor people, and we're going to close down all the churches and stuff, and that is the propaganda that the capitalists and the imperialists launched against the socialist-oriented Labour Party at the time, and that's some of the reasons why we remained so much in opposition. But today, because of those relationships that was established, especially with the global south in the world, we see here that Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit is continuing along that same trend to strengthen those relationships, to broaden them, and to expand them to even more countries, so that we could use those foreign policy initiatives and those relationships globally to advance our local development agenda. So, for example, it was not the Dominican Labour Party who invented the Citizenship by Investment program. It was Eugenia Charles in 1993 when she suspected the demise of the banana industry, something that Rosie again was warning them about because of his links in the British Labour Party and in the British Parliament and in England. He was warning them, that there was the imminent demise of the banana industry. But United Workers' Party carelessly went about the country telling the farmers that nonsense Rosie talking not about Rosie and banana industry. When we come to power, we'll give you $1 upon our bananas. And subsequently, that is what caused, when the banana industry failed and Mamo realized bananas was going out, she pivoted to the economic citizenship program. And it was she in 1993, who formulated the economic citizenship program after a program that had been started in St. Kitts before that. And then it was this government now who really expanded, developed, and grew the economic citizenship program, changing it into the citizenship by investment program, where we used that same program to accelerate the development of Dominica. So all of the hotels, all of the serious pieces of infrastructure, the housing, the international airport, the marina that is going on in Portsmouth right now, that Portsmouth people and even Dominicans and even the Labour Party spoke about years ago, since the Shankland and Cox report in 1968 or thereabouts. We're talking about a marina in Dominica, more specifically in the Cabrits area. And it's this government, through the Citizenship by Investment program, that's been able to do that. The longest cable car in the world, after the longest trail, Whitey Kubli National Trail in the Caribbean and in the region. We're doing the longest cable car in the world to the second biggest boiling lake in the world, an active volcano. And all of this is being made possible. Geothermal energy, Eugenia Charles, even before Eugenia, since 1963 or thereabouts, maybe during Libla days, the first talk of geothermal came about, that Dominica had geothermal potential, but nobody could realize it until this government, using the Citizenship by Investment program, but using our friendly foreign policy relationship with countries and regions like the European Union and all of those other countries that are helping us. I think Honorable Henderson spoke about the battery storage that what we got from the UAE, I believe, and all of those countries are now coming on board now to help Dominica advance its development agenda. Things that should have been done 50 years ago are only being done now because of this government and the foreign diplomatic and other relationships we were able to build, especially using the Citizenship by Investment program. That is how the foreign relations movement, for want of a better term, the foreign relations drive, the foreign relations vision of this Prime Minister and this government is manifesting itself in Dominica's rapid development at present.
Now let me ask you, Paulo. You heard of these three other individuals making mention of foreign relationships. We also had internal relationships with various communities by communities. So you would have seen Grand Bay, Portsmouth, Collioure, St. Joseph, Massac, you can name it. Calibishi, created that kind of network among themselves. Tell us if you would remember what kind of networking you would have seen during the period of the Labour Party in opposition.
Cecil, I don't know if it's because my mind, my intellectual deals with infrastructure. And one of the things I can tell you is the type of infrastructural development that has taken place within those past 20 years, Cecil. I haven't seen or heard of any other country in the Caribbean that had a vast improvement in their infrastructural development. Cecil, roads. If you know, as Ian was saying before, the Transinsular Road, Cecil, every bridge from Canefield to Melvin Hall Bridge was a single-lane bridge. Almost every bridge was today, all the bridges from Canefield all the way to Melvin Hall. I can remember when Boac built the Melvin Hall Bridge, it was a single-lane bridge. So I say all the bridges now are double-lane bridges. Nobody stops. No driver has to stop to allow another one to pass Cecil. Okay? And all this is done under the Dominican Labour Party. The most critical bridge that was being developed is the Debauche Bridge. Many accidents have happened on the Debauche Bridge. Today, two vehicles, two heavy lorries can pass one another on the Debauche Bridge. And all the other bridges between there all the way back is the same thing. Okay? Now the infrastructure is being developed, planning is being developed to do the road from Melvin Hall to Portsmouth. The same thing is going to happen. The same thing is going to happen. Okay? Now you have the East Coast Road from Pokase to Hatton Garden. Even the last thing that is being done now is the old Hatton Garden Bridge, which is being developed into a double-lane bridge with sidewalks. Okay? The infrastructure that is going on in the Kalinago territory, Cecil, is unbecoming. The types of infrastructure, the improvement in the infrastructure, the type of culverts and bridges that are being established now, this is for a lifetime, Cecil, under this Dominican Labour Party. Right? And then, we are not finished yet. We are not finished yet, because when this airport is complete, even maybe simultaneously, I would like to see the same infrastructure work continue. So when the airport is almost ready to be opened, the roads will be just ready to accommodate the traffic that is going to be happening between Portsmouth and the new airport. Okay? But there's one thing I would like to see in the Chinchilla Road, Cecil, is a piece of road, two areas, the Rosalie Bridge and the road just below Springfield, the Springfield area. With proper development and things there. I would like to see maybe the government now should maybe try to look at a suspension bridge for those two areas. You elevate. I mean, we have engineers that have studied in modern countries now, so let their brains work. The Rosalie Bridge, elevate it. You elevate it, and the Springfield Road, you build a suspension bridge in those areas. And when those two things are done, Cecil, when those two things are done, our infrastructural development will be enhanced, and our road users will be more at ease moving from one spot to the next. Look at housing. As I said, the housing, the Sakalibishi Samanpai housing scheme was started by the Dominican Labour Party. After that, you had Point Michel, you had Trafalgar, you had Kenfield Flat, okay? You had Bath Estate. And there is still more. Look at what is happening in the heights of whoever thought that more work would be going on up where Paris Williams had his quarry, in Kenfield East. So there is a lot of infrastructure work that has been done under this Dominican Labour Party, and there is going to be more.
No, guys, I want to move a little bit into agriculture. We all know that in 1988, the Dominican Freedom Party then, banana was at its height, and the Dominican Freedom Party would have made about $120 million that year. We would have seen also too by 1993, I should say that period of 1988, we would have had about 5,000 to 7,000 registered farmers. And then we saw by a great decline from the 5,779 active banana farmers in 1993 to a sharp decline of 2,993 farmers by 1998. I want to first find out from Manu. Help us to have that kind of understanding as to why we saw that decline, especially knowing that Rosie Douglas, who was championing the farmers' cause during the period of the mid 90s. Can you help us to understand why Nanton that we would have seen that sharp decline?
Yeah, definitely. Ian, just for thing, you were asking the name of Nina. So her first name is in fact Nina. Her second name is
Nina
Joseph.
Joseph. Nina
Nina
Joseph,
Joseph.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. So yeah. Now, Cecil, you brought the question here on agriculture, and which is important. Labor has always been about truth, and you would recall Rosie Douglas in the late 80s bringing down Bernie Grant and other members of parliament from the British Parliament here in Dominica and holding conferences and holding rallies, telling them that WTO was coming across, the World Trade Organization, and they were going to put, we would lose our preferential access, and therefore we needed to do things differently. And I would recall clearly, Cecil, that at the time, the opposition back then in the early 90s, being UWP, the official member party in opposition, was telling Dominicans that we need to demonstrate for dollar a pound. At the time, bananas were being sold at about 25 cents, 24 cents. They would have their announcements on DBS all the time. 30 cents would be the highest that we had in those times, and promising the farmers $1 a pound. And I would recall clearly a friend of mine who served with Mike as treasurer of the constituency branch of the Dominican Labour Party said that Rosie Douglas was not serious when he did not join with UWP to ask for a demonstration. Because UWP promised $1 a pound and said, let's demonstrate, and the farmers were willing to go with it. And Rosie Douglas said, that has been irresponsible. That is pie in the sky. We cannot lie to the people because we cannot deliver $1 a pound. Because with WTO, you are losing preferential access to the European market for all agricultural produce, not just from Dominica. Guyana lost rice. Barbados lost rum and sugarcane. So the WTO ruling meant that we were losing preferential access. We had to pay taxes. We could not compete with the Doles, the Del Montes, and the Chiquita. So we, as a party, told our people we will not lie to you. And my friend then, who was the treasurer of Labour Party, said, had Rosie supported UWP asking for a strike, the Freedom Party government then would fall. And therefore, Rosie was not serious about being in government, so he actually left Labour and he joined UWP. I wouldn't call any names now. The man dead, he dead already. But UWP was a party premise on lies and on truths and getting power by any means necessary. That is fundamentally opposed to who we are as Labour. We don't want to lie to people. Things are difficult. Yes, they're difficult. Let's try our ways. So when we came in power in 2000 and we found the hardships that we had, we told our people the tax. 5 cents, you remember the levies that we put taking money from people's salary to pay because things were hard. We told them what things were hard. Bear with us while we transform and do things differently. We're spending 93 cents on every dollar for wages and public debt only. So we knew that the country was difficult and we didn't want to lie to people. Going back to the agriculture, Cecil, you recall it was this Labour Party after we became the government of Dominica, after we replaced what they used to call themselves the Banana Party. It was this Labour Party that paid out the debt of the farmers' organization of $40 million. So the DBG or whatever it was owing $40 million as a debt among the
DBMC.
farmers.
DBMC.
The DBMC. And they could not pay. And it was Roosevelt Skerritt and this government that went on and paid $40 million on behalf of the farmers to try to give a lifeline to the farmers and the farmers' organization. So we have always been a party about farmers. Even today, Cecil, last week or 2 weeks ago, we gave out about how many boats to fishermen, because that is part of agriculture. And we are building so many more to give out to so many more fishermen all around Dominica, because we believe that our people must eat. We're doing the hotels, we're pushing tourism, but the tourists who come here, they have to eat. Whether it is fig and dashing, whether it is vegetables, whether it is fruits, whether it is flowers and horticulture, whether it is fish farming, hydroponics, whether it is fish and lobster and shrimps. We need those things. So we're trying to encourage our young people to look at the niceness in agriculture, look at the sexy agriculture, and get involved in it. Because no matter what you do, man must eat. Agriculture is going to be crucial and important at every time, every step that we take. Agriculture has to be part of it.
What about you, Marvelyn? What's your view?
Before, and we can do it again. And under this Labour Party, we can encourage young farmers to do better and to feed us locally.
I'm sure, Ian, that you are able to tell us about the Woodford farmers, banana farmers, and that of the Picard banana farmers, and the things that they would have gone through.
The government has given everything to agriculture. There's no duties on agricultural inputs, Cecil. And government has given fertilizers. I mean, you name it. I mean,